Rome had survived civil wars, mad emperors, and foreign invasions. But in 235 AD, a single murder lit the fuse for a century of disaster. Severus Alexander, last of the Severan dynasty, was hacked to death by his own soldiers. His crime, trying to negotiate peace with invading Germanic tribes. The message was clear: brute strength would rule now, not diplomacy. What followed was nearly 50 years of chaos. Rome would see over 24 emperors rise and fall. Some lasted years, others only weeks. The economy collapsed. Plagues swept the land. Whole provinces seceded. It was an empire unraveling. This is the story of the crisis of the 3rd century, how the greatest empire in the ancient world nearly fell, and how it clawed its way back from the brink. Severus Alexander was never meant to rule. Crowned as a teenager after the assassination of his cousin Elagabalus, Alexander's reign began in relative peace. His mother, Julia Mamaea, ruled behind the scenes, favoring bureaucrats and diplomacy over military aggression. It was a strategy the legions despised. In 235 AD, Germanic tribes crossed the Rhine. Instead of launching an immediate offensive, Alexander tried to bribe them into retreat. His troops, disgusted by what they saw as weakness, mutinied. In a camp near Mainz, the emperor and his mother were butchered in their tent. With his death, Rome lost its last link to the Severan dynasty and to a fragile era of stability. The throne passed to Maximinus Thrax, a former soldier with no noble blood. It was a seismic shift. The Senate was humiliated. The army was now kingmaker, and Rome was about to enter its darkest century. Maximinus Thrax was a giant of a man, reportedly over 8 feet tall, born in Thrace to a barbarian father. He was everything Severus Alexander wasn't: tough, brutal, and unflinchingly loyal to the legions. But his reign marked a turning point. Despising the Senate and the elite, Maximinus never set foot in Rome. Instead, he ruled from the front lines, fighting along the Danube. But his wars were costly, and to pay for them, he taxed the aristocracy into ruin. The Senate, insulted and impoverished, plotted his downfall. In 238 AD, the Senate declared him an enemy of the state. Civil war erupted. 6 emperors would rise and fall in a single year, known as the Year of the 6 Emperors. Eventually, Maximinus was assassinated by his own soldiers, who grew tired of endless campaigns and poor supplies. The cycle of emperors and internal decay continued to plague the empire. Each new ruler faced the same challenges, leading to a constant state of instability and uncertainty. The Roman Empire, once mighty and unshakable, now teetered on the brink of collapse, weakened from within by its own leadership struggles. His death didn't bring peace. It only reinforced a deadly lesson. Emperors now ruled at the mercy of their troops, and they could be discarded just as easily. From 235 to 284 AD, Rome cycled through over 25 emperors. Most met violent ends. Some were generals raised by their legions. Others were puppet rulers propped up by regional armies. Very few died of natural causes. The rapid turnover shattered central authority. No emperor could rule long enough to implement real reform. Each new ruler was focused on survival, buying loyalty with gold, waging wars to prove strength, and eliminating rivals before being eliminated themselves. This instability paralyzed Rome. Governors began ignoring the emperor's decrees, tax systems broke down, infrastructure crumbled, provinces suffered from neglect and lawlessness. Rome was still an empire on paper, but in practice it was splintering. As Rome tore itself apart from within, enemies pressed hard from all sides. In the east, the rising Sassanid Empire of Persia launched devastating invasions. Emperor Valerian himself was captured in 260 AD and paraded in chains before dying in captivity, the first Roman emperor to suffer such humiliation. To the north, Germanic tribes breached the frontiers, pillaging deep into Roman lands. Cities like Philippopolis were sacked. In the west, even the once quiet Rhine frontier boiled with raids. Rome's armies, once the pride of the ancient world, were stretched thin. They spent more time fighting each other than defending the borders, and with the empire distracted, its enemies grew bold. In the wake of Valerian's capture, Rome's unity shattered. The crisis of the 3rd century began with the fragmentation of the Roman Empire, setting the stage for a tumultuous period of history. In Gaul, a general named Postumus declared himself emperor. He ruled the Gallic Empire, which included Gaul, Hispania, and Britain. He maintained Roman traditions but operated entirely independent of Rome. In the east, Queen Zenobia of Palmyra took control. Her army swept through Syria and Egypt, creating the Palmyrene Empire. Zenobia ruled with intelligence and ambition, styling herself as a new Cleopatra. For a time, Rome existed as 3 rival empires. The central authority was a ghost, mocked by its own provinces. The idea of a single Roman identity was dying. Only a powerful and decisive leader could put it back together. While the armies fought and the provinces splintered, ordinary Romans suffered endlessly. Plague, likely a resurgence of smallpox or measles, swept through cities, killing thousands. Entire towns were abandoned. With fewer taxpayers and soldiers, the empire's systems buckled. While the armies fought and the provinces splintered, ordinary Romans suffered endlessly. Meanwhile, political purges, assassinations, and executions bred a culture of fear. Trust vanished, between citizens and their government, between soldiers and their commanders. The social fabric of Rome was unraveling. Then came Aurelian. Rising from humble origins, Aurelian was a military genius and a brutal commander. In just 5 years, from 270 to 275 AD, he reunited the fractured empire. He crushed the Palmyrene Empire, capturing Zenobia and parading her through Rome. Then he turned west, defeating the Gallic Empire and restoring control of the provinces. He built new walls around Rome itself, the Aurelian walls, as a sign that even the capital was no longer safe. For his efforts, he earned the title Restitutor Orbis, Restorer of the World. But even he couldn't escape the chaos. He was murdered by his own officers over a forged document. Still, his legacy was clear. Unity was possible, but fragile. A generation later, another figure emerged to finish the work Aurelian began. Diocletian seized power in 284 AD and immediately restructured the empire. Realizing that one man could no longer govern such vast lands, he introduced the Tetrarchy, 4 emperors ruling in harmony, 2 Augusti and 2 Caesars. He divided the empire into east and west, with each half having its own leadership. This brought temporary stability, clearer succession, and better management. Diocletian also implemented sweeping economic reforms and launched the Great Persecution against Christians in a failed attempt to restore traditional Roman values. Unlike many before him, Diocletian voluntarily abdicated. He retired to a palace in modern-day Croatia, tending to his gardens. He had done what few others could, leave Rome more stable than he found it. The crisis of the 3rd century was a test of Rome's resilience. Civil war, foreign invasion, disease, economic ruin, each could have shattered the empire for good. But Rome endured. Not because of luck, but because of reformers like Aurelian and Diocletian who imposed order on chaos. Yet the scars of that century never fully healed. The seeds of Rome's eventual fall were planted during those decades of collapse. It's a warning from history. Even the mightiest civilizations can crack under pressure. Unity is fragile. Stability must be defended, not just with swords, but with vision, leadership, and reform. If you found this journey through Rome's darkest hour compelling, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments, do you think Rome could have avoided collapse without this century of chaos? Or was it inevitable? Let's discuss, because history isn't just about the past. It's about what we can learn for the future.